Alright, Finn, at a first quick listen, it sounds really good. Your bass guitar and the piano are right at the front of the mix, and they sound really, really good. The only thing is we need the drums and the vocals to catch up a little bit, to cut through the mix. I love the processing on the vocals, the ambience and the EQ sounds great. We just maybe need to try some mix bus compression on these two just to bring them up, and I'll show you that. It looks like the piano treble here is running a little bit hotter than the left, probably because we've had a little bit of EQ boosting more than the reduction we've had on the left hand side. So it's coming through on the stereo image more on the right hand side, as well as the lead guitar hanging out more so on the right as well. So maybe just a little bit of balance in the stereo field there. And we'll also do a little bit of processing on the drums just to catch those up. The EQ curves look good. But we're going to try some noise gating and maybe some preliminary compression on the kick and the snare as well to bring that up, okay? So, yeah, bass and the piano and the guitar all sound really good, although these two are a little hanging in the right-hand side a little bit more, so we'll see if we can compensate some of the left-hand side a little bit better and just catch the drums and the vocals up. So I'm going to start with the drums here and see if we can just add a bit more weight and presence to them. Just a little bit of noise gating on the kick drum and the snare drum we'll try as well, just so we can focus on those transients only, get rid of some of the spill, so when we do start to compress them and bring the volume of these two guys up, it's going to be nice and separate from any amount of spill, which is just obviously going to preserve its tone, its timbre, its punch and whatnot. Now you're going to get a little bit of hi-hat spill, of course, and don't worry if the snare sounds too choppy, because the whole point of the overheads here is when we bring them in, it's going to give the snare drum and the kick drum a little bit more decay naturally and sustain in the image. Now the snare drum's still going to sound a bit choppy, which is why we can have its own dedicated reverb. I don't notice a lot of reverb going on the drums, well, any at all here, so we're going to give it a little bit of space as well. And on the snare drum, let's have a look at the EQ while we're at it. So yeah, good, like fundamental, we're taking away that mid-range here. So I've got a quicker attack on the noise gate on the snare drum and a longer release just to be able to, let the sustain and the decay of the snare drum ring out a little bit, okay? Okay, kick, how's this sounding with the EQ you've got? A nice low shelf boost here, some of that muddiness taken away. Yeah. Cool, it's a really nice sounding kick drum. It's probably just a leveling issue you've got overall. I've brought the drums bus up and we might have to just bring some of the bass and the piano and whatnot down. But that kick sounding great. This snare drum, let's try a little bit of reverb on there, okay? Just to give it a little bit of space in the mix. So we can just go to bus sends right here. We'll send it away to a bus. This bus 4 is the next empty one. We'll call it over here snare verb. And we're going to send the signal over. I'm just holding the Alt key on the keyboard and it's going to send over 100% of that snare reverb. Let's put a snare reverb plugin on. We just go to the Space Designer, and because we've already got the dry signal over here, we want the wet reverb over here. So on the plugin, all wet and no dry signal. Let's just choose something quite medium, maybe like a nice plate reverb on the snare. There is a drum plate. Let's just tune that up here. We can also just EQ out a little bit of the bottom end on that reverb too. There we go, a little bit brighter, and of course you can choose your own reverbs here and bring them into taste. So let's hear the drums now with this bus reverb. Yeah, might add a little bit more brightness to your snare drum over here just to help it cut through a little bit. Cool, and I think we've got two mixed bus compressors on your drums, haven't we? One on doing the SSL, a fairly moderate ratio, and Hardney, this compressor here as well, just doing a little bit of a top up. So I like just the mixed bus compression. It might be an idea to put one just on the snare drum just to help it poke through a little bit, because yeah, your kick drum sounds pretty massive, but I think maybe just a little bit of a lift on your snare drum here. Let's just try the VCA. It's a nice transparent compressor here, so it's not going to add too much color. Let's just see if we can add a little bit of poke to the snare drum. Just a little bit of poke, and I feel like let's just take out some of the low end energy on those cymbals so they don't sound as dark. We should have a bit more brightness now with those overheads. Just a bit more EQing on that reverb on the side as well. Cool, let's bring in the bass guitar here, Finn. Then we're going to head over to the vocals, because your drums and the vocals are the most marked columns for your component one. So we're going to make sure the drums and the vocals are going to sit nicely, then we'll bring in the other harmonic instruments. But we'll bring the bass in because it sits nicely with the drums. Yeah, the bass tone you've got going on is great. An appropriate low pass filter here. What pedals have you got going on? It sounds really, really great, this bass guitar. A bit of grit from the Rat clone right there. An exciter just to add some top harmonics, as we've taken a bit of a low pass here. It adds a nice bit of slink to your bass guitar. And of course the sub bass as well. What are we looking at? 220 hertz. Not too wide a bandwidth, 100 hertz in the low as well. Yeah, cool. It's adding it's a great sounding bass. I love this signal chain you got going on here, and it sounds great against the drums. And it's not trespassing on the kick drum at all. Right, let's bring in some vocals. Yeah, you know what I mean. Butterflies all having fun. Yeah, you know. Alright, so the mix bus compression, we can take these two vocals, Shift Command D, we'll put them into a little folder, and we can call them vocals, and this is where we can add the mix bus compression, otherwise known as glue compression, which you've already done with your drums. So let's add something in, nothing too heavy, maybe the opto compressor, just to give them a little bit of a lift and a poke here. Yeah, you know what I mean. Butterflies all having fun. Yeah, you know what I mean. It's easy peace when this day is done, and this old world is a new world. It's a bold world for me, and I'm feeling good. Cool, that sounds great. I'd be tempted just to make one of these reverbs just a little bit drier, because they're both syncing a little bit. So just have one a bit more pokey, with maybe the double track at a slightly wetter value. Yeah, you know what I mean. Or perhaps just bring down the size a little bit on them, just a little bit. Yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah, just to help that presence in the mix. Great, now let's take a look at the guitar and the piano, which was hanging a little on the right. But let's start with the piano here. We've got the room mic, the piano treble, and the bass. So I like this. Again, a bit of a low pass, bit of a band pass thing going on here, just to, give alertness to the warmer side of the piano. And the treble here, I'd be tempted to maybe take away some of this bottom end when we hear it on the piano, just to see if we can really separate the frequencies and timbre here. Yeah, just a little louder on the right hand side. And we've got some mixed bus compression going on here, so I think we'll maybe just take this right. Okay, so we're still in a group. Let's take that out now, because otherwise all your faders will move together. Let's bring this treble side down just a touch. Cool, a bit more even in the stereo field now. Let's hit this with the drums and the bass. Cool, just giving a bit more of the top end back on the bass, just a little bit to help it cut through over your bass guitar. And then we've got the room sitting down the middle. Cool, a little bit of leveling there. Let's hear that with the vocals. Yeah, you know what I mean. Butterflies all having fun. Yeah, you know. Alright, let's have a look at this guitar on the right hand side then. Yeah, you know what I mean. Butterflies all having fun. Yeah, you know what I mean. It's peace when this day is done, and this old world is a new world. It's a bold world for me, and I'm feeling good. Alright, so all I did there was just push the piano mix bus a little to the left, because the guitar's hanging heavy quite on the right, but it helps the bass and the vocals right down the center there. A little bit of a mid-range tuck on the vocals and a bit of brightness just to help them cut through the warm piano bass and guitar. But overall, Finn, it's really, really excellent. There was just a couple of things with noise gating on the kick and the snare, maybe a snare reverb bus, a little bit of leveling overall with the drums against the drums and the bass against the vocals, because the drums and the vocals were just a little bit lower in the mix. So just some leveling, a little bit of EQ tidying up, but that's all really. It's a really excellent mix. I love some of the mix bus change you have here on the bass DI, the distortion too that you've put on, which is adding a little bit of grit to the drums, which I love doing. Even putting like guitar amp sims on a drum mix bus sounds great. I didn't really need to do anything to your vocals, really at all. It's just a case of leveling them and a little bit of mix bus EQ there, and just leveling everything else in the stereo field. So yeah, great job, Finn. Hopefully this helps for the next time. And what I'm going to do is if I go to File, Project Alternatives, New Alternative, I'll call this one Mark Mix. So, and I won't save your old version, so you can still go back to Project Alternatives and your most recent mix, which is untouched by me, and then I've got just a few touch-ups on this one. All right, cheers, Finn.